Welcome to 2 Minutes to Gaming, where we talk about the top video game topics of the month for 2 minutes at a time. I'm your host, Keenan, and today I'm joined by
Justin. How's everybody doing?
Man, staying blessed, staying safe,
Exactly.
drinking my Mass Effect blue drink today. Inspired by Mass Effect. I'm in the future right now, but we're going to start out with very controversial topic. It's been dominating Twitter everywhere. If you haven't heard, we're here to let you know the news. Activision is being sued by the state of California. Pretty huge. They're alleging that Activision is partaking in frat boy culture. Before you go, Justin, I just want to read this to the people. It's actually really interesting. I found online. It said Activision's workforce are subjected to frat boy culture workplace involving cube crawls. So, Justin, do you know what that is? Cube crawl?
I'm assuming that's probably have to do with something crawling under a woman's desk or something.
Well, yeah, kind of close. So, in this cube crawl, you're supposed to drink a ton of alcohol, okay? And then you crawl around into another person's cubicle and engage in an inappropriate behavior towards female employees. So you're crawling around your cubicles drunk, calling women all type of things. Just to kind of reiterate what we were saying earlier, I guess they were saying that they openly joke about rape, sexual banter, among other things. So, Justin, 2 minutes on the clock. Go overtime if you need to. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So it looks like Activision basically is emulating the Wolf of Wall Street, pretty much, with their work antics. Frankly, I'm getting tired of these type of stories. It's really sad, and from what I understand, just based on research, one woman actually suicided herself. Based off of
I didn't hear about that. Wow.
her news was being passed around the office, apparently. It's the fact that the only statement Activision and Blizzard made was just like this, we're going to do better. This does not reflect our values. They always hide behind values this, values that. And right now what's happening is that the workers of Blizzard and Activision are going to be staging a walkout. Of the time of this recording will be July 31st. July. It'll be tomorrow, July 28th. So I just want to read real quick. And this one we are going to go over time because there is certain things I do want to read to the audience here. Is their demands for apparently this is posted on IGN. And it's like an end to mandatory arbitration clauses in all employee contracts current and future. Arbitration clauses protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. The adoption of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and promotion policies designed to improve representation, there's a key word again, among employees at all levels, agreed upon employees in a company-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion organization. Current practices have led to women in particular, women of color, and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups that are vulnerable to gender discrimination, not being hired fairly for new roles when compared to men. And then they have the third demand. Publication of data on relative compensation, including equity, grants, and profit sharing, promotion rates, and salary ranges for employees of all genders, ethnicities at the company. Current practices have led to aforementioned groups not being paid or promoted fairly. And then finally, empowered a company-wide diversity and inclusion task force to hire a third party to audit reporting structure, HRA department, and executive staff. It is imperative to identify how current systems have failed to prevent employee harassment and propose new solutions address these. Okay, my comments is more on the walkout because I'm frankly getting tired of these situations happening. First of all, to any of the victims, my heart goes out to you. Hopefully you get the justice that you seek, and also that your mental health is in a more healing, moving on state. I just want to get that out the way. As far as the walkout goes, that's being planned for July 28th. I think it's pointless because you're going to walk out for one day and then go back to work the next.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hurting their pockets. You know why the civil rights movement was so successful? The Montgomery bus movement was so successful? It's because the African Americans, the black people who were boycotting, carpooled, biked, or walked to work. They refused to get on the buses, and it forced the buses and it started hurting their pockets that they had no choice to integrate and end the segregation on the bus lines. So how is you walking out for one day going to affect Activision and Blizzard's pockets? How is gamers saying, "Oh, I'm not going to play World of Warcraft today," going to hurt Blizzard's pockets for one day when they just sort of recruit that? And the thing is, this is only knowledgeable mostly to gamers. The casual audience has no idea and don't care about that. If you're really going to make a change, you have to get into the eyes of the casuals as well. Yes, California is suing, but it's going to be much more than change. And as far as the diversity and inclusion goes, do you need more representation? Yes. Should it be based on we just need to have a black quota, a trans quota, a non-binary quota? No, because that's a detriment to somebody who might be white or somebody who might not be woman that has skills that could be better fit for the job. So how do you do that? I don't know. I'm not an HR person, but that's my thoughts on this.
I'm gonna start it out with a story, and like I said, I'm gonna let people know this whole show is gonna be overtime.
Yeah.
Probably. If you don't like it, just turn it off. Simple. Yeah. But this is a very serious topic, Justin, because I'm gonna start it out with a story. 1979, a company named Atari. They dominated the video game industry. Before Nintendo, before Sega, before Sony, before Microsoft, Atari was the beast, and they didn't hold no prisoners, right? So you have 4 guys who worked at Atari. They quit. And what did they do, Justin? They started their own company. Mm-hmm. And you know what that company is called? Activision. Activision was the first third-party video game company ever. Before that, it was only Atari making video games, and you had ColecoVision, things like that. But third-party was Activision, the first one ever. Why am I telling that story? I'm telling that story because this company has been around for over 40 years, and frat boy culture has been around for over 40 years. Now, because it's trending, and the state of California stepped up, and it's a trending hashtag for equality, now y'all want to step up. The reason why I'm saying this is because I've been at multiple jobs with big companies that are publicly traded that you know, and I've experienced racism, frat boy culture, all type of things. And what did I do? Me and my people at the jobs would step up and challenge management, challenge ownership, etc., etc. Don't wait for it to be trending and for it to be cool for you to step up. If Justin, this would piss me off. If you're gonna, and we're gonna try to release this on time, but this may be, they're gonna do the thing tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That Wednesday, the walkout. Justin, you think those employees weren't there watching those the crawls and people drunk and people acting sex? You think they didn't? You think this is new to them, Justin?
Nope.
So why are y'all just stepping up now? Y'all gotta step up when y'all see Sally getting smacked on the ass or whatever, right? Or you see somebody got fired because they didn't want to sleep with the boss. You gotta step up and say, you know what? This is not. I'm not tolerating this. I'm gonna speak up, or I'm gonna move on. And then when you go to GDCs and places like that, you speak badly on that company. Hey man, I heard you used to work for Activision. Dog, don't go there. It's horrible. Then these companies get a bad reputation. The talent doesn't want to go there. What happens? The games come out with glitches. The games aren't as fun. Other companies have better games because the better developers are going there. And then what happens? The stock price starts to go down. And that's when these CEOs start to care. The second thing I'm going to say as well, and I'm going to end on this note, Activision, Ubisoft, Riot Games, 3 of the biggest developers, EA as well. All of these companies, Justin, all have some type of sexual harassment, some type of racism, something to do with equality. with their CEO, Ubisoft CEO, Riot Games CEO. Okay, so again, let's not wait. And Justin, there's so many companies that hasn't even gone viral yet that I've worked at personally, and I can tell you some bad stories about. But in addition to that, there's so many things happening now at other companies. These companies are dominated by white males, and if you don't like what they say goes. So if you're a minority, black, or Asian, or anything, Latin, guess what? You're a visitor, and they're gonna treat you as such. And again, right now it's trending, so y'all might go to work and they might be on their best behavior. But I'm telling you from experience,
for a couple of months.
yeah, this has been around for a long time, and the reason why it stayed around is because these employees that are walking out tomorrow, which it might be today by the time we release this, are walking out, and all these people who are on Twitter, who I follow and I interact with on Cyber Gaming, they're pissed off, but they didn't do a goddamn thing when they worked there.
Yeah. Not to mention, before we go to the next topic, it's just like to touch on what you were just saying. It's I mean, and this also comes to, and this is not towards the victims. These are the people, I'm talking to the people that the victims reveal this stuff to. And it's like, say like, God forbid, if my friend tells me, hey, Jay, I was raped or something like that, I'm going to step in. Like, I'm going to see what I can do, but I'm also not going to be at the point where I'm going to put her in danger. I get that. I know some people, everybody, when situations like this happens, everybody goes into self-preservation mode. It's like, oh my God, this happened to them, but I really want to speak out, but I might lose my job. And then, I might lose my job. I might, everybody gets into self-preservation mode. But now that one person speaks out, or in this case, California said enough was enough, and now everybody's, it's unfortunately that's how it really is. Sometimes it takes that one voice to spark everybody else to tell their stories. Nobody really wants to be, one of my friends who was a victim of sexual assault said to me, she was like, no one ever wants to be the first one to speak out, because there's just like this great fear of it, and I totally get that. But it's like, if we're gonna actually make change, you have to be willing to sacrifice and lose. So in this case, it's like, you all gonna walk out. That strike might have to be a 3 to 4 month strike. You know what I mean? That has to,
And let me just say this real quick, Justin. It's gonna have to throw off some of the games that's supposed to come out. It's gonna have to delay them.
You're gonna your pocket is gonna have to hurt just as much as the company's pocket if you're really gonna bring that change in. And if you're just going, oh, you know what? Today we ain't going to work. All right, so I'm not Wednesday. I ain't going to work. Yo, we're gonna walk out on Wednesday. Thursday we're gonna go back into the same building that has the same problems. Go back to work and hope that one day may change. It doesn't work like that. You have to make a sacrifice. If you're gonna walk out, then you need to just do a complete company strike, because that's where it's gonna hurt. And now there's a catch-22 to that, because that's not meaning that, let's say, Activision is not gonna go and hire people from overseas that have no idea what's going on and pay them with less wages and everything else to finish the game. So there is a catch-22 to it. There is a risk, but at the same time, my heart goes out to the victims out there. No human being walking should be subjected to any form of abuse, period, and not just including the workspace. Do all companies need to be better when it comes to choosing employees? Yes, everything should be on the playing field, but at the same time, I live in reality. I know that's not going to happen. So, you got to just, go with the punches. If you feel like you need to make a change with it, good. If this company don't want you, there's tons of game companies out there as well. So that have, pretty sure, a more loving, less toxic environment. But it's at the end of the day, I hope the best situation outcome comes for everybody. But at the same time too, you really want to make change to Activision and Blizzard, and this goes to and this is a message to all you gamers out there talking about, I'm not gonna buy or I'm not gonna play games until something happens. Let's be honest, y'all know y'all gonna be buying that Call of Duty when it comes around next October or November or whenever it comes out. You're gonna buy the Call of Duty and you're gonna buy Diablo. So stop it. So if you really about that, then that means you don't buy Activision and you don't buy any of Activision subsidiaries and all the other stuff. So you need to research if you're really about that boycott. Don't just be saying, "Oh, I'm just not going to play for one day to show solidarity." Protesting is not a one-day thing, and that's what something these activists don't get. Oh, we're going to just protest for a week. We're going to protest for a day. No, protesting is an ongoing thing, and it takes sacrifice. That's it.
Couldn't say it better. On a lighter note, EA announced Dead Space, and they kind of leaked it before, but they officially announced it now. Dead Space Remake. So, Justin, are you excited for this? And if not, what can they do to get you excited? 2 minutes on the clock.
I actually played the original Dead Space, so I'm actually excited for what they're going to be doing. What they're once again, I'm not happy that all we got was a little announcement. I would have liked at least to see him just a little bit of gameplay. I mean, it is a remake. You could have just at least show him in gameplay footage walking through the corridor, shooting one of the enemies, and that would have been, I'm like, oh, cool, yes. But, Dead Space could have been a really great trilogy if it wasn't for 3. So it would be nice to them to remake this and actually bring it to its horror, glory, trilogy potential that it could have been.
Yeah, I think a lot of Mass Effect talk this episode. I think they did such a good job with the Mass Effect remake, and obviously different teams, but EA as a parent publishing company. It has me interested, Justin, as somebody who so they both came out like the 360 PS3 era. I ignored Mass Effect, and now I'm going to talk about it later, but I regret ignoring it, and I'm like, damn. And I also didn't play Dead Space, Justin, believe it or not. So as a horror fan, as a space fan, I always was like kind of peeking at it, kind of interested. And I forget, Justin, what exactly at the time made me not buy it. But also it could have just been a wrong time. I probably just could have had like a lot of other games I was more focused on. So I'm actually a little interested in it. This is a game that I'm not going to personally pre-order. I'll probably just wait for some reviews to come out, see how it looks. But listen, last time I talked about Mass Effect 1 kind of looking janky on a remake. The update for those who, who I haven't talked to, who just watched the show, part 2 and part 3 look amazing. They did such a great job, up-resing that. So obviously with this remake, it's going to look great. It's a full remake, but I think they're going to do a lot of those things that will pull people like me in. So I probably want to get it, to be honest. Really exciting topic, but I'm going to rain on the parade a little bit when I go. But Justin, Valve, we talked about the rumor last show about the possible portable Steam system, but now we got it. It's official, Justin. $400 Steam Deck. It will play pretty much all your Steam games mobile, a ton of other features. But Justin, what's your thoughts on this? Are you excited? Are you as excited as the internet is?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited because I have a lot. My laptop doesn't play as much of the Steam games as I want to. So I usually have to play games on the lowest settings until I get a more powerful PC. And it'll be nice to have that because I'm usually playing my games on a road with the Switch. So to have all my games there, classic games such as Tales of Symphonia, my visual novel games that I have, like Crystalline, which I'm playing now. There's so much you can play. So I'm really hoping that it works. I'm not too crazy with the control and the layout with it.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that, but I know they're just basically trying to emulate an actual PC because that's what they said. They said this is basically a PC and it's going to run like a PC. So, but when it comes to the controls, I'm not really too much of a fan. I was hoping it would a more simpler Nintendo Switch type of format with that, but it might it's a little bulky too, but it might take some time for me to get used to. But I'm excited.
I'm first of all, as a developer, I'm really excited to see Dine in the Dark, Far Dodgeball actually portable, and people can walk around and play it how I intended to be played, actually on a controller, which is really exciting for me. But as a consumer, I'm not as excited. I think people online are going crazy. This is not going to be a Nintendo Switch killer. I'm sorry to break it to you.
No.
We're going to talk about the new Switch next, but even for the old Switch, the thing about Nintendo is that you're looking at their IP. That's what makes the Switch so great. But also, too, Justin, they have mastered portable. You know what I mean? So you talked about little things like the controller placements. Who knows how heavy that thing is going to feel, how bulky it's going to feel. And then also, Justin, I'm already hearing about games not being compatible. So I'm worried that by the time we really get our hands on the system, who knows what games we can't play on it.
It'll probably be next gen stuff.
But even then, Justin, in addition to that, you know, we got to worry long term about battery life, and also too, Justin, that $400. By the time those consoles actually come out, they're saying it's scheduled right now for December 2021. But if you go to the website, they're saying you're not going to get it till 2022. So at that point, Justin, 2022, people will be able to buy a PlayStation 5 and Xbox for the same price. So
exactly.
You know, so now you got to start thinking, am I going to get a digital plus PS5 for $400, or am I going to get this system here that people are complaining doesn't even use some of these games? So it's not, I'm saying, I'm excited for it, Justin, as a developer, but it's not all peaches and cream that the internet will make you think it is.
Yeah, I mean, you do get Game Gear vibes from it. I'm not gonna lie to that. You get Game Gear vibes from that.
And for those who are young who don't know, when Game Boy was out, we were like, oh, great, this is cool. But then Game Gear came out, and it was bigger, and it had color, and the Game Boy was black and white, and everyone was like, this is going to kill Game Boy. Game Boy is done. Nintendo's done. And then what happened was we would find out that it would eat up the batteries. There weren't a lot of games coming out for it. It was super expensive, and people would just wind up gravitating towards the Game Boy, and obviously the rest is history. So.
Six AA batteries. Whew.
Yeah, AA batteries are still expensive to this day. So, back to Nintendo though. So they also announced a new system, the new Switch, also known as the OLED Switch, based on the type of screen that it would use, Justin. But not only they get a better quality screen, but they're also getting a bigger screen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the regular Switch is a 6.7 inch. This one is now going to be 7 inch. So you're getting a little bit bigger screen. But Justin, is this enough to entice you to buy a new Switch?
No, not at all. No, not at all. Was hoping for more. Hoping it would announce a little bit more, and I think they said a frame rate will be a little bit better. Graphics will pop out more, better lighting and things like that, better battery life and stuff like that. That's cool and all, but I mean, I think a lot of us was really hoping for a more enhanced, more powerful Switch. I mean, for me, I don't care. I'm not a graphics whore, so I don't really care. But for me, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's nice and silvery. It looks fine, but it was just, for me, it was like it did nothing. The specs weren't enough for me to just say, hey, I gotta spend an extra couple bucks just to get a little bit of a minor upgrade. That's all it really is. It just really feels like a minor upgrade. I mean, it might make some of the games pop more, but if you're a person who cares about that type of stuff, then yeah, you'll probably get it. But for me, it's a nice addition. It's more like how they were doing like the DS, like the 3D DS, and then they did the 2D DS. This is how it feels like. It feels like it's the 2D DS of the Switch.
Well, I mean, speaking of the 3DS and then the new 3DS, I'm so happy that, Justin, that they actually didn't do too much with this Switch, because my biggest fear was that they were going to say, okay, now we're going to come out with a line of games like the new 3DS that are only compatible with this new Switch. And that was my biggest fear, that Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be one of those games. Now I know people are saying, Keenan, that sounds really stupid. Nintendo did this before, so that's just why I was nervous about it. But then also, Justin, on the other side of it, as a Nintendo investor, I probably should buy some more stock because it's down. But I'm actually really excited for this, because I read that it only costs them $10 more to make this brand new system, and they're going to sell it for, I think, for $100 more. So as an investor, that's just easy money right there. And the Nintendo fans are crazy, Justin. There's a Facebook board that I'm a part of. I think it's like 2 million people. These people buy Nintendo everything. They have Nintendo tattoos. These people are like, I don't want to call them psychos, because I do leave comments on their page sometimes, but they're going to buy it.
Of course.
This system's going to sell out whether we don't buy it or not. Doesn't matter. It's going to sell out. Nintendo knows it. It costs them $10 more to make it, and they're going to make a ton of money. And I'm going to make money too, because I'm an investor, so it works out for everybody. All right, let's play a little game. called One Gotta Go. Everyone knows this game from, I guess, from Instagram.
Memes.
Yeah, memes and Twitter and Facebook. But we're going to play it here for the first time, Justin. And I want to play this game with Warner Media. So for those who don't know the rules of One Gotta Go, I'm going to present 4 different game development studios that Warner Media owns. And then, Justin, I want you to eliminate one and tell me why you would sell it. But, Justin, not as a consumer, as a owner of Warner Media. Okay, so I want you to start to look at the finances and things like that, too. Now, for those who don't know, before you go, Justin, I just want to give a little background for the story. AT&T owns Warner Media at the moment. What they're doing is actually spinning it off with Discovery and creating Warner Brothers Discovery. But meantime, they're cleaning up the balance sheet, getting rid of a lot of junk. So they actually sold one of their other studios to I think it was EA. I think it was EA that bought it. So they're spinning off studios, selling anything and everything that's not nailed down. So it's possible that one of these 4 we'll name will be sold. So Justin, you're the CEO of AT&T, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav. What are you selling? One gotta go. I'm gonna give you 4 choices. Justin, ready? First choice is Traveler's Tales, mostly famous for making the Lego games. Rocksteady, also famous for making a Batman Arkham game, Arkham Knight, etc. NetherRealm, famous for making Mortal Kombat. And then lastly, WB Montreal, famous for Batman Origins. So Justin, out of those 4, which studio gotta go?
Well, you definitely would be a fool if you got rid of NetherRealm, because that's Mortal Kombat, and that is Mortal Kombat and Justice, 2 huge IPs. I'm definitely not getting rid of Rocksteady, because you want to keep them there because they are killing the DC games, and DC is one of Warner Brothers' bread and butter. As far as Legos goes, you do not get rid of the Legos things. That is a whole kid market and just adults as well. So Warner Brothers Montreal can go. I will cut them off. I will get rid of them mainly because the other 3 assets are way too much profitable. I mean, just look at what's under those umbrellas. I mean, granted, Rocksteady is mostly known for that Batman trilogy, but the hype around the Suicide Squad game, and just they have proven that at least they know DC. So if you want to make that studio the go-to DC brand, then you got a solid studio. How to like Asamiya is now just strictly, they are the go-to for the Spider-Man games. So I would definitely keep Rocksteady for the DC only. I'll keep NetherRealm obviously for my fighting, and then of course you don't get rid of Legos. You don't get rid of that license. So that's my choice.
Justin, I totally agree. I think Rocksteady, one of the most talented, the most innovative developers that we've seen in the last 20 years. To be honest, I'm gonna say that. And then also, Justin, believe it or not, as a consumer, I would get rid of NetherRealm, and as a consumer, but that's not how we're playing this game. But the only reason why I say that, Justin, because I'm not really a Mortal Kombat fan anymore, but I used to be. But as a owner, I would say I would keep NetherRealm because they just sold 11 million copies of Mortal Kombat.
Not to mention DLC, microtransactions, all of that.
Yeah. And then Traveler's Tales, they got the kids on lock. I mean, my little nephew, he plays every Lego game like over and over and over and over and over, and he unlocks like every character, then he erases it, and he plays it again, and unlocks every. I'm like, they got the kids on lock. Those are good games for adults as well, by the way. Lego Batman 3, Justin, I keep telling you, gotta play that game. That is a great game.
One of these years.
One of these days, you're gonna play Lego Batman 3. You're gonna be so shocked how good it is. But yeah, WB Montreal. Listen, those guys are underrated. Great studio. The reason why I like them, Justin, if you look at their resume and the games that they created, they're like the utility player, right, in baseball. They're a team that you can just grab them and say, hey, I need you to finish this project. These guys, Rocksteady's busy, okay? We need you to jump on something real quick. And they are talented enough to jump from project to project.
Good designated hitters.
Yeah, but unfortunately, those other 3 studios are just too strong. I agree with you, Justin. WB Montreal has to go, but we will send them a nice severance package and some stock options on the way out.
Exactly.
We love them. Freestyle round, for those who are new to the show, this is the last round where we kind of we open up the floor, talk about some things we're playing, talks about some things that's on our mind. So Justin, last round, what do you got?
I found this, folks. My old GameCube memory card. Oh, it just makes me think back of the days, like how I want so much to play GameCube. I'm actually thinking about rebuying, and this is just a tip for everybody here. I told Keenan off air about this. For those who are just wanting to play GameCube games, but you're seeing that the prices in the retro games are going so up, buy a Nintendo Wii. It's still normal price. Yeah, it's like around $100-$200, but it's better than paying $500-$600 for a system. The Nintendo Wii is GameCube compatible. Buy yourself a Wii. You get to play the Wii games and you get to play the GameCube games. It's a 2-for-1 right there. And not to mention, you just get your controller and everything else. But the reason what's really on my mind is that someone purchased Mario 64 for $1 million. Keenan, if I knew that games would be selling this high, I would have kept all my Sega games.
Mm-hmm.
I would have kept all my Sega games. Wouldn't do me any good in New York because we got the Retro Store, Brooklyn video games. But still, I would have sold all my games if I was in a different state, like, or put it online. Like $1 million, like wow, like, and not to mention a lot of these things is going up. PlayStation 2 to buy the system is expensive. Fatal Frame they want like $300 for it. Hopefully Nintendo will do the right thing and release all of them on the Switch and release the previous games. But $1 million for Mario 64, crazy that they just released that last year.
Yeah.
So you wasted $1 million instead of just paying $50, $60. That don't make no sense. All for a box in the cover? You could print that out, homie, in the cartridge. Dude, like, they have a better remake on the 3DS. Like, come on. But that's what's on my mind. Like the retro game prices is getting out of hand. It really is. So it's up to these companies to start counteracting that and releasing them on the store and make it backwards capability, or at least do what the PlayStation Now does. Have a service, we can play it, stream it, download it until our service, cuts off. But I mean, come on, it's time. It really is time to give us our libraries back. But that's it.
Now I'm going to piggyback off that too as well, Justin, real quickly. I'm just going to say, I hate to keep beating this company up, but I actually love to beat the company up. Is
Sega?
GameStop.
Oh, I was to say.
What you thought I was going to say?
Sega.
Oh, I'll leave Sega alone this week. No, GameStop, because, when I looked at this Steam Deck, Justin, I said to myself, wow, look at that progression. Now, again, I beat up the Steam Deck a little bit earlier, but I do think that if they stick with it, maybe come out with another iteration as well, get the price down, I think that we could have one of the best handheld systems ever with the Steam Deck. So I'm actually really happy about that as well. But when I look at the evolution of Valve, right, and how they created Steam, I always said to myself, you know what? You see the Epic Game Store as well now. Honestly, GameStop, it's not too late. They could actually come out and say, you know what? It's late, but we're going to make our own store as well. We're going to work directly with some big publishers and try to have exclusives. And then the end goal is to, again, have that console, right? Have that mobile console just like Steam is on. Again, the blueprint is there. In addition to that, Justin, you were talking about those old games. Why aren't they the place that we go to buy those old Nintendo 64 games? Or, we go to eBay, we go to Craigslist, all kind of other sites. GameStop should be the stop for games, hence the name. So I just feel like they're continuing to drop the ball everywhere. Again, we know the stock price is through the roof because people on Wall Street bets love it. But again, the company isn't doing anything still. And again, we're continuing to give them all these free ideas. But think about that, Justin. Imagine if they were the central place for all of these resells, right? The central place, not just one of the central place. In addition to that, again, the central place for indie developers like myself to launch their games for this huge audience. So
Definitely.
again, dropping the ball, and also too when we talked about before, limited run games. How they have that limited run and people, like Streets of Rage 4, you can get a physical copy. People still want that stuff. Yeah. So again, if I'm GameStop and you have all this money, again, because your stock is so high now, you can just sell a couple shares and be rich if you're the GameStop and owner, and not owners, but management. You guys got to do something with that capital that you raise.
And not to mention, GameStop should have been what Steam is, truthfully.
But that's what I'm saying, Justin. It's not too late.
I mean, it might be too late. It might be too. I mean, they could be there physically, but I doubt it at this point.
And the last thing I want to talk about as well, real quickly, Justin, is that when I was playing Mass Effect, actually before the show, and you were right, dude. Part 3 starts out crazy. And part 2, by the way, for those who haven't played it. But it reminded me, Justin, of back then. Video games, 2000, what was that, 2012 or something like that? It came out, maybe 10. But around then, every video game I felt like had to have a huge set piece. That was like a word that we would always say. Oh, look at this set piece. Look at this set piece. And I noticed, Justin, in the last 10 years, that has slowly died out. Yeah. Because now we have Fortnites of the world, Call of Duties of the world dominating. And yeah, we do have our occasional Last of Us and Resident Evils and some of our single player games, but for the most part, all these developers are running towards, the hotness, the popular game, and that's Fortnite. So my cry right here, Justin, is actually to the developers and the big developers, and also the publishers as well. Let's get back to creating innovative experiences, right? When I looked at Mass Effect, Justin, the reason why I'm playing it so much because there's nothing else like it. You know what I mean? They created a very unique game that merges genres, but they weren't scared to say, you know what, we're going to go against the grain and make something completely different. And I think that's what's really missing in gaming. Hey, if you, I know people to this day still play Fortnite. Hey, man, be my guest, play it. But we need to really start looking at innovation and bringing back different games. And so that being said, Park Dodgeball is available to pre-order right now.
I mean, I definitely agree with you on this because, especially from a narrative standpoint, and this is why God of War was so heavily praised. One, because no microtransactions, no real pay for DLC. There was just a story there, and yeah, it had big set action pieces, but it was a nice callback to the games that from the early 2000s. Mid 2000s that we used to play. Yeah. And a lot of these developers, even their single player games, is becoming a live for service now. The Avengers is proof of that. The Avengers game, they try to make that a live for service, and unfortunately it flopped. It didn't do what it was supposed to do, and now they're hoping that the Wakanda DLC will bring people back into playing. And I don't see it. I don't see the death of single player games, but I do see it becoming a less demand service as more people. And the problem is this: if people spent more money on single player games than they do multiplayer, and they see how much, and this is, I mean, I'm not mad at it because everybody has to make money. Mm-hmm. I'm mad at the fact that it's more becoming the standard. It's becoming the norm. Like, every game now has to have a multiplayer, or usually have even games that you don't think need a multiplayer mode have a multiplayer mode. Oh, we got a multiplayer mode here. Why? There's no reason for it. I mean, so for me, I see it happening more. Like even Resident Evil 8 multiplayer. There's multiplayer. Like when and why did Resident Evil ever need a multiplayer? Like, I mean, granted, five was the exception because it made
that was different.
5 made sense because of the story.
And 0.
They did it for the story. But when you're just having multiplayer shooting modes, it doesn't make sense. What for? You're Resident Evil. You're supposed to be story. That's like them doing a Fatal Frame game and it's multiplayer. Or so I don't see it happening, but I'm starting to see that more live for service is coming. And that's mainly because people put so much money into it. They buy the VCs, they buy this, they buy all this stuff, and it does get addictive. to a lot of these kids. Like they want to be strong already. Like and not to mention, just to throw this out there, games are more easier now too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing articles where these quote unquote game journalists are just like, oh, we need to make the games more easier. No, get good. Games are not, there's easy modes for a reason. So play. If you're gonna do a review, play the game on easy. You should be doing that anyway, so you know, and then go to hard. You play when you review a game, review it on all three levels. That way, you have a real, sense of how the difficulty level is. But I do see more live games for service. My only hope is that RPGs do not take that route. But I can see that happening soon. We're going to be getting RPGs that, will be a live for service. Like, oh, they'll give you bits and pieces of the story. Sounds familiar. Where, that certain company should have finished the remake by now. But that's neither here or there.
Well, it's always a pleasure, guys, and I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Justin, any last words before we peace out?
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing about the Activision to all the victims out there. I just want you to know personally, you are not alone. It's not your fault because I talked to a lot of people who have suffered from this, and some of them do place blame on themselves. It is not your fault. You did nothing wrong. You are strong. There are millions of people like you, and you all share the same voice. Enough is enough. Keep your head up. Justice will be served, and I pray that it does get better. And for those people who are trying to stage a protest, like I said earlier, I just want to repeat myself. Protesting is not just 8 hours a day. Protesting is not just 8 hour for one day. You have to be consistent, and you're gonna have to sacrifice. And sometimes that sacrifice might not be the company's wallet, might be your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have a plan. If you got to work at McDonald's while you're not working, find other places to work while you're boycotting, find another source of income. You're going to have to do it. Change is coming, and let's just hope it's the change everybody is looking for, because when things change, usually something bad comes with it from the back door. So just keep your heads up, folks, and God bless. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, guys. Peace.
It's been real. Peace.